Hi, this is Tam from Ask Auntie Tam, and today I would like to talk to you about what I call depression brain and anxiety brain, or otherwise depression eye and anxiety eye. Why am I calling it eye? Because in Nichiren Buddhism we talk about seeing things from your Buddha eye, seeing things from a much higher perspective, from mindful place, and a place of peace, a place of understanding that not everything's all about you, that there is a bigger picture. But when we are experiencing depression and anxiety, we often look at things through that eye, through those tinted glasses, if you want to say. It's the color that we see the world through. It's either through depression or anxiety. So when there's something that occurs, like something small, um, an event, something doesn't go your way, dropping a glass, even something as simple as that, um, rain when you put your washing out, simple things, or even big things like job stuff or relationship stuff or other world stuff. And we tend to color what we see, at least I do, from my experience. I color what I see through that lens of anxiety and through that lens of depression. And doing that actually makes things look really dire and the end of the world. And my life's not worth living. I'm such a failure. Everything's terrible. Oh, I'm so terrible. I'm horrendous. Everything's so bad. And you freeze in that situation. You freeze in that place where you're looking at things through anxiety eye or depression eye. And I've spent the last 3 days actually thinking about this quite considerably because I have had an experience on Monday where the unexpected happened and I found myself going into depression brain. And I've been asking myself, how does one get out of that? How do we change that space? Well, first of all, I spoke to my counselor. That was the first thing I did. The second thing I did was speak to my wife and tell her how I felt about everything. And speaking about it actually has helped. Journaling about it has actually helped. And the main thing here is that awareness that this is coming from a place of anxiety or depression and not from a place of neurotypical thinking or normal thinking or whatever you would like to call it. It's coming from a place that's been colored in dark colors. So it's not coming from a place where it's nice and bright. And I don't want to use the terms positive and negative because there are a lot of things that when I say when you say positive, people do think of toxic positivity, which is what we'll talk about at some stage as well. And negativity, I don't think that's a very helpful term. So I'm going to use Buddhist terms here, which is helpful and unhelpful, which is the way to see it. And that also softens what's happening. So what's happening in my life at the moment, I could say, instead of going, oh, it's dire, it's terrible, my life is over, I could turn around and reframe it and say, well, this is unhelpful, but there is a solution. There is a way forward. This is not the end of the world. And remind myself that what I am perceiving from a place of anxiety and depression is not necessarily the reality. I think when we're talking about events such as the death of a loved one, the loss of a job, other huge life things, of course we're going to go through that experience of anxiety and depression. We're going to go through that experience of in some sort of pain. But if there is something that occurs in our lives, we tend to put the same amount of pain and anguish onto those things instead of stepping back and having a look to see what the solution is. We freeze there. As I said before, we just stay frozen in that place where the energy is unhelpful, the thoughts are unhelpful, the way we feel is unhelpful. And it's difficult to move out of that space to start making better decisions or to finding a solution to the problem you find yourself in. So what I've done, and this may not necessarily work for you because remember, this is my lived experience, not necessarily yours. As I said, I spoke to a counselor. I spoke to my partner, I journaled, and then I took myself a step back. Being aware, I took myself a step back and I went, is this really as bad as I think it is? Well, not really. Um, is there a solution to the problem? Yes, there is. Um, can I get through this? Yes, I can. So taking myself back, reframing it, and seeing, okay, well, these are the steps I can take to make these changes so that this thing doesn't come up again. And that's helped enormously. And that takes a lot of discipline because it's so easy to fall down that black hole. It's so easy to just go, oh, fuck it all. I'm just so crap. And then go, whoop, right down. It's the easiest thing to do. It's harder if you are somebody who experiences mental illness to actually stop, think about it, consider your options, and find a way forward. It's kind of like stop, collaborate, and listen. You know, even if that's what you're going to use to interrupt your thoughts, that's fine. Because that's one of the things that the counselor advised me to do, and that was to find um, a way to interrupt my thoughts. So one of the ways you can do that is to actually say stop, and then divert your attention to actually solving the problem. Or if you can't find a solution immediately, then do something else. Draw, watch Netflix, go for a run, but then do something else and then come back to the problem and see if you can work your way through it or find a solution. What I find when it comes to thought interruption, because you've got to interrupt the thought and then replace it with another one. Sometimes that doesn't help immediately. Sometimes it's like, man, the world is on fire! And then you go, stop. And the voice just goes, but the world is on fire! Okay. That's still, I know how that feels. So what I tend to do is to say, stop. The world is on fire! Okay. But now we're going to sing our favorite song. And then I've got, I don't know the lyrics, but I got Havana, una na, na 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 na, Havana, una na. For me, that works to interrupt my thoughts. And then suddenly it lessens that feeling of panic and the world is on fire. And it brings me back to myself and to my place and my position in the world. I think a lot of people emphasize meditation. You should do meditation to. I will do a video about that, but just briefly, if you are not a practitioner of meditation, you haven't been for some time, and you are using this moment of panic and seeing things from an ugly standpoint to begin your meditation practice, it's not going to work very well for you. And I will explain that in another video. But I just want to say, if you've never meditated before, don't think this is now the time you need to start. Take baby steps. Try just the stop. And if you can, replace that thought with something else. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with a brand new edition, so you've already interrupted that thought with something completely ridiculous. And then when the thought comes back up, this is something that's happening. The car won't start, or I don't know how I'm going to get to work. Then take yourself few steps back. What can I do? Who can I speak to? Who can I call? Who can I talk to? Speak to your counselor, speak to a friend, speak to your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your uncle, whoever you trust most in the world, and use them as a sounding board, because what the feedback they would give you will probably be like, listen, girl, it's just the spark plugs. It's not the end of the world. Chill. Instead of you just sitting there going, the world is on fire. Meanwhile, you can put out the flames. So if there is anything more on this particular topic, please let me know. I would like to discuss it further, but only if you're interested. And that's pretty much how I shift from anxiety and depression I to Buddha I. I don't always get it right. I have to confess, I don't always get it right, because sometimes the world really is on fire and I think I am too. But these are steps that you can start to use to bring yourself back, reel yourself in, and see how you start to change that mechanism that makes you freeze inside. And I'd like to hear about your experiences. Please let me know what you think and what has happened to you and what tools do you use in situations like this. So thank you very much for your time. Have a fantastic